Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 856, Richard and Garry are both back. Thank goodness I'm not on my own. And we've got lots to talk about. Tab browsing, Tab File Explorer browsing comes to Windows 11. Could it make its way to release pretty soon? I think we'll talk about that. We've got new builds on the dev channel last week, Surface updates. We've got an EV update from Garry, Computer Museum talk, new bits of things for me. So we've got lots of stuff, so let's get straight to Richard and Garry. Richard and Garry, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome back. And I know why you both weren't here last week, because you were getting rid of Internet Explorer.
That's right, public service announcement. If you're listening on Internet Explorer, any version, actually, you shouldn't be. Exactly.
Yes.
It's dead. It's the browser that won't die, but it really is officially dead.
Well, yes. I mean, it's never going to really die, is it? Because it's so deeply entrenched in the core OS. The Internet Explorer bits are still there, and we're also only talking about Windows 10 semi-annual channels. It's going to linger on in the long term. Servicing branches. I think Windows 8.1 still uses it. Even Windows 7 ESU, I think, supports it. So it's not fully gone yet, but it's definitely got at least 1 foot out of the door.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Yeah, he said it'll never. Internet Explorer will never die.
Yeah,
that sounds like a T-shirt to me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I do kind of wonder if there's some regret within Microsoft about making so much of the core OS, use bits of IE, because now it's like they can't get rid of it. It's there forever.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Yeah, and we're on the second version of Edge already, and still can't get rid of Internet Explorer. Well,
yes,
a second engine in Edge. It's funny, isn't it? That I since I switched over to Chromium engine, I never really use Chrome that much anyway. But I don't ever even think about it now. Things do work a lot better now. It's all on one engine.
Yes, and of course the other thing about Chromium Edge is you do have IE Internet Explorer mode in that as well, which corporates can turn on if they have that one weird website that just will not work. So, but I mean, I imagine there's lots of enterprises out there still using IE for one particular purpose, and I guess today is the day, well, the 15th is the day when they really have to decide what they're going to do about it, because it's going to be interesting, I think, for enterprises.
Yeah, that's always the kick. Yeah, there's some intranet application that they desperately need, but the guy that wrote it left 10 years ago, or the server can't be replaced. There's always something.
Exactly, it's some beige box under the table that no one dares touch.
Yeah. They turned it off once and it all went wrong, so don't touch it. I think everyone's got some of them somewhere. Well, anyway, we've got a few things. We've got File Explorer tabs are here. Not just for dev either. We'll talk about that. It's a bit confusing. We did have some new builds of Windows 11 last week. I don't think we've talked since actually it hit release preview, have we? 22H2 has hit release preview now. I don't think that was the case last time. I think it was.
Yeah, although I guess there's some debate now as to what's going to actually be in 22H2. I can hear lots of nervous journalists looking at their preview 22H2 and wondering if they're going to have to do a very hurried update.
Yeah, definitely. So, as I said, this week, 2 weeks ago now, Microsoft released 22H2, and I, like others, I recorded a video of all the changes in there. I've got it running on my service laptop, and everything works fine. Did all the video. Then last week we got a new build on the dev channel, which gets all the future stuff not meant for release just yet. So we had 25136, and there was one major change to it, which was tabbed File Explorer.
Well, before we get on to that, do you want to touch on what happened with the release preview of Windows 11 22H2? Because it didn't go entirely to plan, I think, would be fair to say. It transpired
yes.
When it got, obviously this is a release of Windows 22H2, should clarify, is a version of Windows which we think will appear in the next few months, probably towards the latter half of the year, maybe September, October time, I think, maybe in time for I guess Ignite would be a logical time for it, I suppose. But of course, it does have this infamous hardware compatibility list where it expects certain types of Intel CPUs. I think it's like 8th gen or better, or a couple of 7th gen CPUs that just happen to be used in Microsoft's own products. Were hurriedly added to the end. To this. It's
Studio 2.
And I've heard various reasons why Microsoft has done this, ranging from sort of bug fixes to security to what have you. But it is annoying because many people do have older Intel-based CPU because at a strike they basically they took out a huge amount of PCs in the marketplace that just can't run it because they're not supported. However, transpired that whatever they put out there didn't do the CPU check. So there was a period of time where people were able to install this, get the update, and run it on CPUs not approved without having to do the registry hack, which Microsoft has published to get it on. So kind of feels like it makes even more of a mockery of these hardware compatibility things. I mean, I know obviously it's inside it's test stuff, but it's if it's that easy, you think, well, why exactly have they made these these requirements so onerous when even themselves they just turn it off? I mean, I did hope at first maybe it was a sign that perhaps they were going to quietly just remove that particular limitation, because the TPM stuff I understand to a certain extent, but the CPU thing just feels very draconian, particularly when they then mysteriously added in there the i7s, which the seventh generation Intel chips that were in Surface machines. That made it feel even more, but it's a bit arbitrary. So I don't know. I mean, what do you two think?
Well, yeah, it seems a bit of a bit of a mistake made there. I know they want to draw a line on the processors and they don't want to go back on the backwards compatibility. So I think that was a little bit embarrassing for you, I should say.
It was, yes. I mean, they did come out and say that it was a bug, but still, it was a bit awkward, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I know what you mean. So a little bit embarrassing. But the weird thing was as well is, so that was for 22H2, was it? I know I saw some of the stories come out. I didn't realize it was 22H2. So it was if you were on release preview, was it?
Yep, it was. Yeah,
you would get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean obviously that was 2 weeks ago now, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah. Right. So if you're on release preview, you could have ended up with that update.
Yes, and I think the advice is probably to roll back and then try again, because who knows what else is broken in that build. I mean, they said nothing, but you'd probably be wise to roll it back if you found it accidentally before the update. Yeah,
and the build that they're talking about is for release preview. I've got the build number here.
C261, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And it's now 1.160. It's 22631, and they released .160 on Monday as well, which is a little weird thing. So going back to the dev channel build, so dev got a build last week, 25136, which didn't have very much in it except for tab browsing and a bit of a desktop, a bit of a change on the desktop lineup. So here is my virtual machine, and you can see I've got tab browsing working on here. And actually, it works pretty much as you'd expect it to.
When you say tab browsing, this obviously only applies to File Explorer.
File Explorer, yeah. So this is File Explorer. So it's not like sets, and it's not Edge tabs. This is File Explorer on with tabs in it, as you can see. And
yes. I mean,
drag and drop.
I mean, it's nothing like nothing like Edge tabs, because that would be consistent, and we don't want to have a consistent interface ever in Windows. That'd be madness.
Because I'd have the tabs going down the side, of course, if that was the option, because that's how I have it in Edge.
I have to say, I mean, it does put me in mind of the Windows terminal tabs.
Yes, it does actually. It's very, very similar to that. Yeah, I actually quite like that. So.
Yeah, and I have to say, it does work well. Actually, to be fair, it does work really well.
Yeah. So this is the tabs open. They've also redesigned this layout. I don't seem to have got all the updates, because I think on the blog post they published it has your name of OneDrive, but my one just says OneDrive on mine. But they're doing the infamous A/B testing with this, and I think so far I know of about 2 or 3 devices that have actually got this. Have you? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I've got it on my M1 Mac running Parallels.
That seems to always get these things, doesn't it? None of my other devices apart from this one got it.
Well, I mean, it's obviously good to see these things turning up in the dev channel. Obviously, a sign that development's happening. But I guess we'll have to wait until 2023 for tabs in File Explorer.
Yeah,
or will we?
Yeah, because 22H2 is done, isn't it?
Because it's done.
Yeah, and you say, "Oh, will we?" Because that .170, which we talked about before in the beta channel.
Yeah.
So with the the .160, has got the tab browser in there. Although none of my machines pick that up at all.
Yeah, so this is weird. So, and that's also being done A/B testing as well. They're going to roll out. They're going to roll it out to a subset of users. So you could. I mean, they did say that some features might come to the beta channel first and dev channel later. So you could be in a situation where beta channel testers may find themselves with the new toys before the dev channel gets them, which is a bit odd. I mean, the speed at which this has happened is a little disturbing. I mean, you and Gary, obviously, you've done inside of things in the last few weeks. I don't know. I mean, was this mentioned at all? Was there any kind of indication they're going to do this? Because I mean, I can't believe it's been tested enough by dev channel insiders to make this good to go for beta. Seems to be.
Yeah,
so
that's what
quick.
I was surprised with. Yeah, that's what I was surprised is that. And no, really, there's been. Microsoft don't talk about unreleased features, just as they always like to say. I did mention it a few times, but I think I got away with it.
So yeah, it's a, and of course,
I'm surprised. Yeah,
and of course, it being in the beta channel, it's in the same build number. I think that's 22621 as what's in the release preview, just a later, a sort of minor increment. So it's 160 as opposed to whatever the release preview. So I don't know if this means this might make it into 22H2 or not. It's certainly got the same build number at the moment. So I would think
why not?
And unless something goes disastrously wrong. And to be fair, again, this is a nice feature. It's a good feature. I like it. I've used it. It works really well. It's one of the few things that I miss when I go back to my production PC, which is obviously ordinary Windows 11. I do miss this particular feature. It's really handy. So yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just it seems a bit of a risk to not get dev channel insiders test it first, but then I suppose that I don't know the numbers, but I think that beta has a broader reach than dev, so maybe that's why they want to test this, and they've tested it internally and it's ready to go. So. I would be surprised to turn this up to see this turn up in release preview, but they've got to at least give it a couple of weeks because most people haven't got it. There's very few people who've got it anyway. So yeah, you need a bit more testing, surely.
Exactly, it needs more testing, and again, I think it does make a mockery of this whole A/B testing thing because I mean. I've always found this a bit annoying on the Windows Insider channels. It's like you've signed up to the Windows Insider program because you want to test the new stuff. That's why you're there, and you're not. So it always left me vaguely annoyed. This has kind of really rubbed salt into the wound because not only are you not being given the toys in dev channel, hey, guess what? it's made its way to the beta channel already. So yeah really strange. Really strange how fast this has happened. So I mean, there's not really been any explanation behind it. I mean, I don't know, Gary, Ian. I mean, have you heard any more about this? About how this has happened? It's just so quick.
No, no, we've heard nothing. I mean, I did speculate that this would be out months ago, didn't I? Because I said it's ready to go, and then I was proved wrong, and it didn't get released, and here it is. So yeah, we've heard nothing, but I'm glad it's out there. It's just I'm surprised it didn't get to beta like a month ago, and then dev about a month ago, then beta 3 weeks ago, and that way it's been 4 or 5 days between the two channels. So.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that's interesting about the dev channel and the beta channel is with the dev channel, the advice is if you're using a Surface Pro X, skip it this time around.
Yeah.
Because the Pro X won't wake up properly. I think from hibernate, you got to use a hard power cycle to actually get it back to life. Beta channel seems fine. The only problems there is the arrows on the tabs on the File Explorer are misaligned. I think that's it. That's the only known issue now.
Yeah. I the 22H2 seems pretty rock solid to me. I've had it on I've been running it on various platforms, but now I'm running it on Surface laptop. It's absolutely fine. So I think it's ready to go. But it's nice It just means maybe I have to re-edit my what's new in 22H2 video.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's because there's been a lot of what's new in 22H2 articles written, and you think, well, clearly it's. I mean, to be fair, Microsoft has said this doesn't mean we're done, and perhaps they aren't. Perhaps there is just one more thing.
Yeah, maybe, and I think they like to mess with us as well a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, that's 22H2 with tab browsing. And this is on Dev Channel, this one, but yeah, I like it. So hopefully that'll stick around, and we'll get to keep that for a bit longer, and hopefully it will actually make its way into release preview. To release preview and then to release. So I'm guessing September, October for the actual release of it.
Yes.
So the other thing Microsoft updated. Oh, sorry, say that again.
I keep being asked when are we going to do a 22H2 right? I say, well, because we're not going to do it yet because it's not finished yet. So
yes, yeah, I've done my video,
well
and now it's out of date.
Well, it may not be. It may not be. We just don't know because let's face it, the Windows Insider team are legendarily bad at communicating. They're so bad.
So maybe I need to do an A/B video. This could be you. This could be you.
Exactly. Let's see what you could have won.
Like what was it Netflix did with the Black Mirror Bandersnatch?
Yes.
You can as you watch it, you can choose A or B if you're in if you're A or B testing.
Do you reckon that's what happens inside the Windows inside of HQ? They're going to sit there going, "What should we do? Shall we push this function to some Windows insiders, or shall we turn off the CPU checker? Which choose option A, B, or C?" Well.
yeah, they're watching that. They've got a movie on and they're choosing the buttons on the Xbox controller, which path to go. And actually, flipping around on versions, they did update some apps last week as well. I think Media Player and Notepad also got updated, but depending on which channel you're on, you've got different versions of that as well. So if you're on Notepad, you got if you're on Notepad on all the insiders apart from Dev got 11.2204 and Dev got 11.2205, but I think it works better on ARM64 because it's now native ARM64 support for Notepad, which is good if you've got a Surface Pro X, but you don't want to be don't upgrade on Dev Channel just yet.
And also it doesn't come down because Notepad is now a separate app. You've got to do it through Windows Store.
Yeah. And improved accessibility as well, I think, so it gives you the shortcuts and things like that. And a Media Player has also got updated if you're on the Dev, and that improves performance when using large collections and the ability to sort albums by date or date added.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I assumed it already did that. I mean, I don't use Media Player, so but I kind of assumed it did that already, but clearly not.
Yeah, Gary, do you remember we spent a lot of time writing up about those Windows consumer features?
We wrote a nice book about all that, didn't we? And then Microsoft changed it all.
Yeah.
Got rid of it all, actually.
Yeah, thanks, Microsoft. Yeah, they got rid of it, and they're slowly introducing those things back. But I don't know how many people are using Windows Media Player, even the new or the old one, to manage the music collections. I suppose there are still some people that like having local collections, but it's I guess most people use some kind of streaming platform now.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, Windows is still. In fact, it's a bit weird now. If you come across some music that isn't available on streaming, I think, how do I listen to it? I've got I dug out. You remember? I think we talked about Blade Runner the other week, and I did dig out the my Blade Runner soundtrack, and actually this is the 3-disc version, and only disc 1 is on Spotify.
Oh.
So I thought, I want to listen to disc 2 and 3. How do I listen to them? I can't listen to them in the car because I've no CD player in the car. I've got to drive somewhere on the shelf up there, I think. But you just get used to everything being on streaming now. I think, well, why is it not on streaming? So, but then so maybe I go back to using Windows Media Player. I did have it very nice in OneDrive and everything else. I used to have it set up really well with Groove and OneDrive. So anyway, that's the updates for the apps. And the other update I got last week as well was the June update for the Surface Duo. the original Gen 1 Surface Duo got the Android security updates, but a couple of weeks ago I also got the one for this Duo, which had a lot more features in, like haptic feedback for the camera and some performance improvements and rotation support. So actually, it was quite a nice update for the Duo. The Duo 2 now is working great. They really have got that working quite nicely. Oh, and third-party chat applications can use the little sidebar notifications as well. So that was quite good to see. Yeah, so a nice update for the Surface Duo as well. So lots of updates for different platforms and different devices and different channels last week. I also recorded another video. I did record an extra video about 22, something I missed off my original 22H2 video. We did see a great demo of the accessibility features when we were at the Windows Insider event. So I've actually recorded a separate video of that because I was quite impressed with that feature. So
that was really good, wasn't it? That was,
yeah.
So close to my heart, but
yeah. I hadn't realised how good it is, so I spent some time with it and sort of practice using it, and then recorded a video of it. So it reminds me of Blade Runner though, when you can say it shows the grid and you can say 5, and that's the central one, and then it shows the grid again and you can say 1, which is the top left one, and you can click and everything. So it reminds me of that Blade Runner scene when he's zooming in and enhance. It
doesn't have the click sound.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I wish it did. Yeah, I think that's something that the accessibility team need to look at. But actually, the accessibility features in 22H2 are actually really good. There's quite a lot of them, and that voice access is really good and works really well. And I think the thing that's most useful about it is it's not application specific. It works with anything. It's just Windows, isn't it? I think quite a few devs actually are asking you, Gary, and we're at the events. How do we use this? And the thing is, I don't think as a dev, you don't have to do anything, do you?
Not really. No. I mean, you can do things to make it integrate even more, but just if it runs on Windows, it's usable with this, which is great.
I suppose there's some things to do, make like label your controls correctly and put the descriptions and everything like that.
The normal things you do for accessibility on as normal are there, but you don't have to do anything special to fit into this.
Yeah. So that's really good. So I've recorded a separate video on that. So have a look at that one as well. So I can leave that on there. Now, what else did we have? Oh, look, I wanted to do a catch up on the EV stuff, Gary. So, how you're getting on with your car? We've not talked about that for a while.
Well, my car's been brilliant. I obviously took it down to Devon and back. That went really, really well. Shows the benefit of destination charging. Actually, I think that's something which we haven't talked a lot about on the show. But the place I was staying actually had a slow charger which I could use overnight to charge the car. So. And it was included in the rental of the property as well, which is really good. So basically, most of my driving while on holiday was free, which is great because it just including the cost of the and it really did prove the difference between. It doesn't sound a lot, sort of 260 miles range to 220 mile range, which is the difference between the two cars. Basically, I mean, my new car should be able to hit 300 miles feasibly on a really hot day, something like 30-degree day. But at the moment, it's around about 260, and that actually made a huge difference in planning for the journey. I didn't need to do 2 stops; I didn't need to do 1. And my biggest complaint about this car is it just charges too quickly. I go to the services for the normal stops I'm getting, and I'm getting alerted while I'm in the queue for my coffee that the car's finished charging, and because demand is definitely getting up. I mean, Exeter services, which down there, it's got a huge bank of chargers, and virtually all of them were in use when I was there, and I've heard of people queuing for them over the last few weeks. So we are seeing a surge in purchasing of EVs if you can get hold of them, because all vehicles are still in short supply, although the electronic stuff is starting to get back into supply now. The components there are starting to be more available. The problem at the moment is things like rubber seals and grommets. They're in really short supply. I think due to this Ukrainian situation, that seems to have impacted that. So that's affecting all car manufacturing. So there are long wait lists for EVs, but a lot of people have been buying EVs, and it's definitely having an impact now. Though we're starting to see a big increase in infrastructure, it's lagging behind the sales, and that was always going to be the case when it's privately funded, because people need to know their investment's going to be worthwhile when they fund charges. But we are seeing some big infrastructure. I mean, I certainly had no problems charging while I was doing this, but it was definitely interesting to be able to just go down with one charge and not have any problems charging at all. I also visited Norwich Grid Surf, which is opened. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but actually just for charging purposes. And again, car was charging so quickly, I had to move up. But what was interesting there was talking to them. They actually said, no, don't move your car from the charger. We haven't got enough parking spaces to put all our EVs on which have finished charging. We've got loads of charging points and they're not all fully occupied, but we get so many people from the local area coming to use the shop who haven't got EVs. If we pay to get state cars, they take up all the parking spaces. So that was interesting. But they're trying. But the whole point of what they're trying to do is persuade people that EVs are a good and easy thing to use. And I noticed they've just got planning permission for one down in Plymouth as well, which should be good. Some interesting news today that the plug-in grant has been abandoned by the government for cars. It's still available for vans and motorbikes, but for cars, you can no longer get a subsidy on purchasing an electric car.
That didn't take long to get rid of that.
Which I think is fair. I mean, to be honest, I think that it's actually led to overinflated prices, because the manufacturers always seem to set their prices just above or just below the rate to get the grant, and as the grant goes down, the prices go down. So I think that's definitely been part of the case. But yeah, that's gone on as of today. I mean, if you'd previously ordered your car, you may still get the grant, but you won't get it as of today. I actually don't think that's a bad thing. They've shifted the money to what I think is really necessary, which is funding the infrastructure for chargers, not actually chargers themselves. But I mean, we've spoken about this on the show before, but one of the biggest problems with getting chargers to the places where people want chargers, which tends to be the motorway services, is the motorway services weren't designed to be the best place for power distribution. They're between cities, which means they're not near the main parts of the grid or the big main distribution. So actually getting power to them is a tricky thing, and needs investment, which is only something the government can really fund to get that there. We should have other advantages as well. But yeah, I mean, definitely my car has been going exceptionally well. I missed some of the things I had in the iPad. So missed the air suspension, which was really comfortable. Not an uncomfortable car, my new car, but it's definitely by comparison, it's noticeable. Really, it's the technology leap of having, and particularly the 800-volt architecture is definitely worth having for that fast charging speed. But yes, what's interesting actually is that there's a few announcements in the last few weeks of cheaper EVs starting to come to market. VW have mentioned a small one they're working on, which will have a reasonable range, probably up to 20k. MG have got a new the MG4. It's called the Mulan in China, which is coming out fairly shortly, which will be again reasonably cheap. So I think that's happening. And second-hand market's picking up. I mean, I think we need to organise that as well. But cars generally are going up in price at the moment. It seems to be that 30k is what you pay now for a car. You'd pay 20k for 5 or 10 years ago. Talk about inflation. But yeah, it's and that's petrol or electric. So it's definitely interesting to see what's happening.
The increase in fuel is got to driving that. You know, people are seeing that at the pumps now.
They are, and I mean, even though electricity prices have gone up, they haven't relative to what's happened on the fuel pumps, and certainly in the last few weeks. I mean, I certainly get a lot more people talking to me when I stop with my car now, asking how it works and how much it costs me. I mean, for example, that whole trip down to Devon from Peterborough and back cost me £48 in electricity. And that was at charging. It's probably some of the most expensive charges because they were just convenient. But yeah, it's not bad trip at all.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good real world experience, and that's the thing. Charging holiday places on like Exeter on the M5. That's one of the busiest services going, I think, in the summer, isn't it? So you could if you can get charged up there, then you're going to be okay everywhere, more or less.
Yeah. And and it will improve. I mean, there's certainly a load more charges coming at services as they need to get electricity in there. I mean, they're getting round the lack of grid by putting batteries in and stuff like that. So it's good that's the case.
But like you said, as the range increases, so you get to the point where you don't need to charge en route. You charge when you get there, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and if you can get destination charging in more places, and this is something I've always said, that the real places we should be having charging is in shopping car parks, shopping centre car parks, hotel car parks, and hotels shouldn't be getting fast chargers in. They need, because if you put one fast charger in, you could put 20 slow chargers in. That'd be a much better approach.
It's certainly make it interesting. I know. I think at the beginning of next year, maybe looking at my wife's car changing, and she's got just a small Fiesta, the small engine. She doesn't do high mileage. She doesn't do long distances. It's all local stuff. So an EV would probably be ideal for that.
And there'll be quite a few second-hand EVs around then as well. But that time we maybe on a new one as well. But there's a lot of stuff coming to the market by that point. And if you're traveling, if you can charge at home, even with the price rises in electricity, it's still a big no-brainer. And if you then put solar panels in, it's even more of a no-brainer because you can basically travel for the cost of installing.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you about that because that was something we were chatting about the other week. You're looking into that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the prices of solar has gone up again because, again, they've got component shortages. But with the cost of electricity, it makes the time to reclaim your investment a lot less. I've also, full disclosure, I actually invested in this, but the Ripple wind farm, which is now closed, subscription will be live. That actually was quite an interesting approach where you can actually buy shares in a wind farm, have it discounted off your electricity bill.
Right. Yeah.
And I know people who, and again, past performance may not do future performance, but the people who actually invested in the first version of this wind farm are finding they're actually getting a bigger return than they expected. Now, some of that's skewed, by the way. The government forces electricity companies to pay for electricity because they pay for electricity at the gas rate, regardless of whether it's being generated by wind. So the wind farms make quite a bit of profit, but they have to pay it back to the government, which is it's a crazy way around. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are actually finding that they've been able to fund the whole of their electricity bill that way. So I'm sort of looking at a combination of actually having solar at home and using some of the upcoming ways you can actually invest in both wind farms and solar farms throughout the country, which would be interesting. But yeah, solar has got a lot more efficient recently. There's better panels, but the main thing is the battery. The battery technology is improving all the time, and you can with the investment they're making in car batteries, and there's a lot of second life batteries starting to be used for home storage.
Right. Yeah.
So you can do that, and also time shifting as well. If you've got a cheap overnight rate, having a storage battery now is a very efficient way of running electricity bills. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of interesting possibilities. I mean, it's interesting. We worked out that it's actually probably cheaper for us now to use our immersion heater powered from electricity than it is to pay for gas to run our boilers to heat the water, just because the way it seems to have shifted.
Wow. Yeah. It's things are certainly changing all the time, and it's it's something you've got to stay on top of and keep aware of because things are changing. But it's definitely going in that direction where cleaner electricity. Cleaner generated electricity is going to be cheaper, not just cleaner.
Yeah. And there's things like they've actually invented a solar panel now, which will work at night, which is so you can get it takes and it takes reflected solar power from the moon basically. So it's quite impressive how efficient they're starting to get those panels.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I don't know. It seems, Richard, it seems better that use than all the crypto guys using electricity and the money going down. What's going on with that?
Oh, the crypto, yes, the Bitcoin bubble. Well,
Yeah.
it's the usual thing, isn't it? Where I mean, it's I don't. I mean, can you guys spell Ponzi? I'm not quite sure. It's yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get involved in that Bitcoin conversation at all because that way lies lots of angry, shouty people who are convinced it's going to change the world. It probably will, just perhaps not in the way they hope. So yes,
yeah,
it's,
that's
I mean,
taking loads of electricity and they're not getting the value's going down.
Exactly. I'd much rather put that energy into charging up electric cars and charging up smart homes with Powerballs or what have you than burning up, creating these fictitious tokens on blockchains for Bitcoin. So, but yes, that market does seem to be imploding once again. But I'm sure it will get pumped up once more in a few years' time and then implode again and pumped up and implode. And I think the people that ended up buying at the peak will end up picking up the bill. That's all a bit unfortunate. Which reminds me of a device I saw in Berlin last week.
Oh yes, you went. Did you go to the German
I went to
Museum?
the Computer Spiele Museum in Berlin, East Berlin, which is or the former East Berlin, which is a brilliant place. It's on the ground floor of one of those very sort of seriously brutalist Soviet era structures.
I love those. Yeah.
And they've actually managed to preserve some of the mosaics and things, which is really good. And you go into it, it's laid out fantastically well. Actually, I would really recommend a visit. It is focused on games, not on. So whereas you might go around, say, the National Museum of Computing, or you might go around the Centre for Computing History in the UK, and you'll see things like Elliott's and mainframes. This is more geared up around computers that play games. So you do have a recreation of Nimrod in there from 1951 playing Nim. You've got an example of the PDP-1 Space Wars, I think it's called. That again, and a recreation of that, and then just lots of machines around all playing games, including some wonderful East German equipment. There's I think the only arcade game they made in the GDR, which is basically a TV in a wooden cabinet, which had a choice of games you could play. One of which that I played was a deer hunting game because apparently Eric Honecker liked deer hunting. So yes, there's a deer hunting game there. But the best thing of all was the Paint Station. I tried the Paint Station, which is is it a game or is it an artistic installation? It's one of the two. But effectively, it's Pong. The thing where you have the bats and the ball, and you have a dial to move the bat up and down and try and bounce the ball. But it's a two-player game. If you lose, you have your hand on a panel which will give you a shock or a bit of heat, or even a little whip will come around and whip the back of your hand, and it ramps up the intensity as you play it. And you'll be unsurprised to know the Paint Station runs Windows XP. Because of course it does.
I thought Vista would have been the true Paint Station.
Well, I think any administrator who had to support XP.
Yeah, true. I bet it wasn't Service Pack 1 either, but it was the original version.
Well, the creator was very keen to point out that it's not on the internet, so it's all fine. Believe me, you wouldn't want that bad boy being hacked, would you?
No, definitely not. No.
I have to say that I also lost as well quite quickly. I was rubbish, but yeah. So if it's on Karl Marx Alley, which is kind of like a very broad road. If you go to Alexanderplatz, it's about a 25-minute walk or a 2-minute ride in the metro. And I'd recommend it actually. Definitely, it's 8 or 9 euros to get in, and there's a whole range of discounts for children and students, what have you, families. And I had a lovely time there. It was great. I really recommend it.
Yeah, and so did you try and hunt out for a TI-99?
There was a TI-99 there, except as I pointed out, they called it the TI-99/4. Whereas on display it was a TI-99/4A. I could tell by the face of the curator that he had been told before.
Yes. Yeah, I can imagine. Here comes another English guy to explain about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so they didn't actually have all those running. They have them sealed behind displays. Actually, the displays themselves are all done in it's kind of like almost like pixels. It did put me in mind of Minecraft. which
Yes.
I thought was
Yeah.
quite neat. And of course, the font is very Sinclair. There was also what they called the argument wall, which is this wall of video game milestones, which some I'd not heard of. And of course, there were some obvious omissions, like Doom, for example, wasn't there. Well, because the imagery doesn't really go down well in Germany. So
Yeah, well, Wolfenstein, Castle Wolfenstein, that wouldn't be allowed at all, would it? No.
exactly. So and also quite violent. And of course, it was back in the sort of 90s. So things were even more sensitive. So and I fully understand why that's there. But yeah, it's a really good place. It was a shame that some of the computers weren't working, but their plan is to basically put up some touchscreens so you can sort of see what they would be doing. But a bunch of other games work, and there was also like a recreation of a 1980s arcade in there, and there was driving games like the old pole position game and things were in there, and you had Pong as well. So not the PlayStation Pong, actual real Pong.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's it was really good fun. Really good fun. I recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. Those places are fantastic. I'm a bit of a sucker for a computer museum. Just you see your history.
Well, I mean, you would have been very sad that they only had one Spectrum there. That was it. The rubber keyboard 48K version. That was it. There was no pluses there.
Well, yeah, they weren't that big in Germany. You'll have to go to find a museum in Spain where I know it was particularly that's where the Plus 2 came out in Spain first. I think it was developed in Spain. So, yeah. Oh well, that's good. So yeah, at least you got to see a Commodore, a Texas Instruments device. So you're quite happy with that.
I wasn't. He was indeed. Well, I mean, there was also, last time I was in the Centre for Computing History, that there was one running there playing TI Invaders. And there was they had one at the National Museum of Computing a while back. Not the last time I went, actually. I have to find out why.
You don't want to upset the TI 99 supporters club.
Exactly. You don't cross those people.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know that you good to know that you enjoyed that. I noticed Jason Fitzpatrick from the Centre for Computing History actually posted a new video. I think it was today, with David Arnold. The music composer that's done the Bond themes.
Oh, is this the donation of the Atari ST?
Yes, yeah. So he's donated. David Arnold's donated his Atari ST to the centre, and Jason went up there to collect it and talk to David Arnold. And there's a good video on their YouTube channel, him talking about that. And what an amazing collection of synthesizers just in the background. I was thinking, stop talking about the ST. Look at those keyboards.
I must
like CS80 and things.
I did think of you when watching it. I thought, I bet Ian he doesn't care at all about the Atari ST. He's going, whoa, look at those.
Yeah. Yeah, well, CS80 and things like that. But yeah, really nice of David Arnold to do that.
Yeah, I was surprised how many films he'd done with it. It wasn't just the Bond films, was it? There were quite a few films he had off, which I now can't remember. But
Back to Young Americans and he's done all sorts. I forgot. I think Stargate, wasn't it, as well?
Stargate was one. Yeah. I mean, I guess the fact you've got the MIDI port on the ST obviously opens up a whole new, just new realms of creativity for people.
Yeah,
brilliant composer's machine. It really was.
Yeah, because you could just plug in. If you had an Amiga, you had to buy a MIDI interface, but you didn't have to with the ST. You just plug in, and you got Steinberg Pro 16, which was the predecessor to Cubase, and you could start writing music. Previously, you'd have to do it with tapes and things like that, or expensive solutions. That's why it was in, I think, virtually every recording studio had an ST during that era, that sort of late 80s, early 90s.
And most hospital radio stations.
Yep.
Yeah, because of MIDI, you could use other things. You could control other things as well, couldn't you?
Well, yes. I mean, speaking of MIDI, are you aware that there's a new version of the Floppotron?
Is it?
There is, yeah. Today's the 14th. Yes, the guy who did the Floppotron 1 and 2, as of this week, has done the Floppotron 3, which has got even more floppies. So for those that don't know, I'm sure Ian will place a link. This is basically it's an insane Polish person, from what I can tell, who buys up loads and loads and loads of old 3.5-inch disk drives, old sort of spinning rust hard disks, flatbed scanners, opens them up and then controls the motors and then
Yeah.
The way it works is he can then, I wouldn't say tune it, but he can then use banks of them as instruments. So he can take he can basically take a MIDI file, play it through the Floppotron, and the sort of clunks and the whirs and the clicks and things from the various bits and pieces of obsolete hardware gives him his drums and his organs and everything else he needs in MIDI. And I think it's one of the best things I've seen this week on the internet. It's just great.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. I remember it playing Bohemian Rhapsody and the Doom theme, I think, is the one, the opening music of Doom. Fantastic. Yeah, I'll see if I can find a link for that.
Yes, I mean, I think there was Aha, Take On Me, and now I think the current one's playing the kind of the circus theme. So
yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that is a good use of MIDI.
Exactly. He was. I had a chat to him about it. He was saying it's getting harder apparently to find these devices because people obviously have moved on from 3.5-inch discs and whatever you say. They're basically reclaimed from machines that are being scrapped.
Yeah.
So good recycling. There we go.
Yeah, and in fact, the device I've got over here, synthesizer, Korg Karma workstation, has got a 3.5-inch floppy drive, and so I've still got the disc for it over there somewhere, and it actually still works. I don't really use it for the drive anymore, but it still works. So it's actually it's amazing how quickly that. I remember when I got that, it's got a disc drive on it. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to the Atari ST, I guess that's one of the reasons why it did so well, because, whereas you say you had to plug things in, when these things are actually built in, then it's a lot easier for software makers to target a given set of hardware. So, yeah. So back to
it's why the STs hung around so long.
Yeah, definitely.
People were still using them for music.
I think David Arnold said he was still using it for. I can't remember what he exactly said, but it was fairly recently. You'd be surprised how recent it was when he was using it for some music composition. Yeah, it's good that he's donated. So anyway, I'll try and remember to include a link to the video for the Centre's YouTube channel, so you can check it out. And hopefully they can add that to, because I remember they had when we were down there, they had a few synthesizers, didn't they? I was getting very excited playing with. So hopefully they can hook that up to that, and maybe they can get the Bond theme going on I think it was an N-Sonic synthesizer.
Yes, I mean, I've no idea if he'll run it, but I mean, if you talk to Jason, if anyone talks to them up front, they'll normally try and accommodate any requests. So if you'd like to see a machine running, I mean, I know he was saying they had a Jupiter Ace fan in a few months back, and they were given enough notice to say, "Can you power it up?" And they did. So
that's great. Yeah,
you might be surprised.
Yeah, and if you think of planning a summer trip and you want a day out with the kids or a day out on your own or whatever, then check out both of those computer museums, because the one in Cambridge and the one in Bletchley, which we've got videos of our trip from last year, which we had a very nice day there at each place.
Yes, we should do it again.
Yeah,
we definitely should.
And I've got one new thing to try. I'm not even sure I'll do a review as such, because I don't really review musical instruments, but I did get a new drum machine.
Look at that.
So that is a IK Multimedia drum, Uno drum. So it's a drum machine with analog and digital sound. So analog circuitry to make the old analog TR-808 type sounds, and digital samples, so you can load in samples. And there's on their website there's 40 drum machines you can download. So I spent a good couple of hours on Saturday playing with 40 different drum machines, going through one at a time. It was great fun. But yeah, old Korg and mini pops, so you can sound like Jean-Michel Jarre, or you can have a 909 and do some 90s house, 80s 90s house, well, all different things. Anyway, it works and it's USB. It works as a MIDI interface, so I'm just going to start to incorporate that into a few of my tracks. So I'll have a few tracks with that on it. Actually, funny, we talked about the Blade Runner track that I did, and I played out with it a couple of weeks ago. I actually got a copyright, not a strike as such, but I couldn't monetize that episode of the show because Warner Music claimed the copyright on it. So it's amazing. Their algorithm is very clever. That's all I can say, because it's not a like for like copy of the original. I didn't do it. I didn't sample it or anything. It's all totally recreated. The sounds were created from scratch with the different instruments I've got here, none of which Vangelis would have used. But so quite clever how their algorithm has managed to work out that it's a cover version of one of the songs they own the copyright. I'm not sure how they do that, but there you go. So I'll stick to doing my own original music from now. So, no, but in some respects, I'm quite pleased. It shows that I must have been playing the right notes in the right order for the algorithm to detect it.
Yeah, it's close enough. Close enough.
Yeah. So anyway, so maybe I'll have a track on at the end of the show that features the Uno drum machine, but I've got to do a little bit playing around on that. So we'll see. So I'll probably have that for next week or for this week's show. I think we should have a guest actually for next week. We'll confirm it, and then we'll surprise for the listener next week. But Richard, you're going to quite enjoy this guest that Garry and I met at Microsoft event. I think they're going to quite enjoy this one. If you're thinking Raspberry Pis, thinking space, thinking Windows, that kind of thing, I think it should be an interesting show.
Great.
Excellent. So, Garry, where can we find you?
You can find me mostly on Twitter at Garry WMA. That's Garry with 2 R's. I haven't said that for many weeks. That's Garry with 2 R's.
And the YouTube channel, do you renamed it?
Oh yes, it's now EV Owner, the YouTube channel. So you can, and I have a link, an easy to remember to link, which is evowner.video or evowner.live. You can get to me. Either of those will get through to it.
Excellent. And Richard, where can we find you?
Mainly on Twitter at Richard_Speed.
Excellent. We'll be back same time, same play next week, hopefully with our guest. I will play out with some music that's not copyright by anybody, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Cheerio.